Different verse, same as the first. The Oklahoma City Thunder improved to 5-0 with a win over the Portland Trail Blazers.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Styles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Styles. Follow the show on Twitter at LO Thunderpod. On today's show, we're breaking down the Thunder's 5-0 start. First time the Thunder have been 5-0 since the 2011-2012 season that ended with an NBA Finals appearance. Could that be in the card for this Thunder team? We'll talk about that coming up. This is podcast number 6 of the week, so this will be an abbreviated version in all likelihood. We'll see how long it takes to break this one down, but we'll be back again to recap the Thunder's Clipper game on Saturday. So plenty of pods for you this week as we're here for you talking about every single game and Monday through Friday, every single day here on Locked On Thunder. So the Thunder get a big win over Portland. Fifth straight lopsided win. The Thunder pull away in the third frame and win 137-114. OKC once led by 28 points, 2 lead changes, only 3 ties, but a game that the Portland Trail Blazers went on a run. The Thunder were in control for the vast majority of that first half, and the waning moments of the second quarter, the lead dipped down and it went Portland's direction, and then it was eventually wrestled away for good in the third quarter whenever it was an explosion starting in the middle of the third quarter all the way through the finish line of that third frame when OKC got their big win. And in the fourth quarter, they continued to pile it on. The Thunder forced 10 turnovers in the third quarter alone. 19 total. The Thunder gave it away 13 times, but OKC wins the rebounding battle, which was an impressive feat, and I think that it goes back to that third quarter. Everything in this game starts and stops with the third quarter. At halftime, this game was tied 68-68. You would never know it by looking at the final score, by looking at the box score. In that third quarter, the officials really let both teams play physically, and that was advantage Thunder. They don't have the size right now because you have Hartenstein on the bench. You have J. Will Kenrich on the bench. They don't have the size right now that even Portland has in their front court. But when you let Lu Dort get physical, when you let these hounding guards play physical, it's ball game. You're not going to be able to hold on to the basketball. That's why you saw Portland have 10 turnovers in the most physical quarter of the game. And then Lu Dort skies in for some rebounds. They're putting bodies on guys and they're just attacking the defensive end of the floor. They vastly improved on the defensive rebounding category this year from last year with pretty much the same roster. Of course, Caruso helping a bit, but really it's the intentionality of how they get to the glass right now and how everyone is picking somebody up. So yes, in every game, up until you see Hartenstein return and the rest of the front court return. In every game, the Thunder will lack the inches, but they will not lack the intentions to get rebounds. Because once you start to box out and once you put body on guys, it's kind of a free-for-all. The ball's going to get batted around, and you have absolute ball hawk on this Thunder team. I think that that's been the biggest improvement from last year to this year, is that you're now contesting the rebound. And once you do that, the ball can bounce any different way. And an opportunistic bunch like Oklahoma City is able to pull down quite a few of them. 14 steals in this game as a team. The Thunder got in the paint and scored 48 points in the paint, 4 more than Portland, which coming into tonight, Portland was a top 10 team in paint defense. They have plenty of front court bodies to throw at you. Of course, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, clinging off the bench. Like this is a team that can really defend in the paint, and the Thunder made them pay there in this one. Fast break points went OKC's direction, 18-13. A large part of that, again, happening in that third quarter. And then second chance points, an area where the Thunder were routinely killed last year, that also went OKC's way 19-12. The Thunder shot 53% from the floor, 38% from three, and 84% at the charity stripe. First half, they had a really good shooting half. Third quarter, they were excellent at the end. And when you look at this Thunder team, they had two horrendous shooting nights to start the year. So much so that it made you think that the Thunder were playing on peach baskets. It was like we were playing basketball in the Polk administration. But since then, if you take away the first two nights, and I know you can't do that, but eventually we'll be able to. Like eventually, the sample size goes to the next 5 games, and the next 10 games, and the next 20 games, and you'll distance yourself a bit from those first 2 games. If you take away those first 2 games, the Thunder are shooting 40% from three, which is better than their mark a year ago of 38%. Was what it finished in the regular season for the league best 3-point percentage. They're at 40% right now while taking more threes. A year ago, they were 24th in the league in 3-point attempts per game. They're top 10 right now in the NBA in 3-point attempts per game. This week, they were 11th throughout the whole week. This is their second 3-game and 4-night stretch. It ends tonight against the Clippers. So we'll see how they handle the second night of a back-to-back. But again, it just goes to show that shooting is coming around just as we expected because this team has too much talent. They have too many quality shooters, and they were getting too many quality looks to continue to fall short from beyond the arc. It turned in against Atlanta on Sunday, and it's continued throughout this week. However, I would not just assume that the shot, is back and that the 3-point line is the Thunder's friend in this game on Saturday. We'll preview the Clippers game throughout this podcast. The biggest point for me about the Clippers preview, don't be surprised if the Thunder shoot poorly. Now, they can go out there and shoot great. They're obviously capable of it. 40% Monday. They shot well against the Spurs on Wednesday. 38% tonight. They're obviously capable. But not only is it the second night of a back-to-back, which typically entails you don't have the same legs that you normally do, and that hurts your shooting. But it's an arena the Thunder have never played in before. No player on this roster has played in the new Intuit Dome. It's a back-to-back where you don't even have your normal morning shoot-around to see the arena, to shoot in the arena, to get a feel for the rims, get a feel for the sight lines. And so with that element of you've never shot on these sight lines before, which is a big deal for shooters. They have the wall, which even threw off Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. There could be, at least in the first half, if not the whole game, some moments where the shots don't fall. And so I would not be shocked if that happened. The other Clippers preview point to just knock that out of the way, and it's kind of all over the place off the cuff recap podcast. The Thunder have to avoid foul trouble in the paint. And you saw it tonight with Chet. He picked up 4 fouls in this one. But whenever you have Harden and Zubac running the pick and roll, first and foremost for the Thunder, a good note, James Harden has kicked and turned the ball over left, right, and center this season. I really think that the turnovers will be big. I think that it could be a career night for turnovers in Oklahoma City. But Ousmane Dieng, we're going to praise him and praise him and praise him this entire show. Like that is really important to show how good he played tonight. But Ousmane Dieng against Zubac is not going to be the matchup that you want in a James Harden pick and roll. So you need to kind of mirror Chet with him and Chet with that pairing. And if he's got foul trouble, there's really no one to pass that baton to. So that could be an area where the Clippers can create an advantage if they can manipulate their lineups and manipulate, of course, foul trouble on the big man to bring that out of Oklahoma City. So the turnovers are a big deal. The sightlines will be a big deal. The pick and roll, of course, will be a big deal in that contest. Looking at this Portland game, we talked about how they got the win as a team. Individually, that game does not turn without Lu Dort. And this was not his sexiest box score. He had a poor rim miss. He went 1 for 4 from beyond the arc after lighting the Nets on fire this week. But the energy, the effort, the physicality that Lu Dort brought on the defensive end cannot be understated. Soaring up and getting a jump ball with Ayton, ripping the ball out of the hands of the Portland guard trying to score at the rim, sparking ahead an easy SGA fast break finish. Like those game-turning plays almost all of them stemmed from Lu Dort. So that's another example of he was a plus 14 tonight. His box score isn't as good as if you go look at his basketball reference game logs from this week. But I think that this was his best game of the week in terms of how it impacted the entire game. Because without that physicality and without that defense in the third quarter, you saw that they were tied at halftime. You saw there was waning runs in that first half, to close out the second quarter. You could have been in for a more tightly contested game, but instead you smothered Portland and got to your end goal. What was the end goal tonight? Front half of a back-to-back against a inferior team. Your end goal was you want your key guys to not play a ton of minutes. Lou plays 25. J-Dub plays 26. Chet plays 18. SGA plays 28. Like, that is a huge win. Everyone under 30 minutes per game again, in this game again, and you preserve yourself a bit for Saturday. But we praise Lu Dort. J-Dub really got it going offensively. 22 points from him, 66% from the floor, 4 for 6 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. He is just a stealing machine, and he's another guy that when you continue to move him down the pecking order of it in every lineup now, he's your fourth best defender at best, because you're always having guys like Dort, like Kaysen, like Caruso, like Chet in there with him, that if he's able to just go and try to hunt the basketball, he's able to rack up 5 steals Wednesday, 4 steals here against Portland in 26 minutes. This is not normal stuff that you're seeing. This is historic stuff defensively. I just think that this team has it. And this is another game that relates to Monday, where we were talking about how great teams can go on runs like this. Portland had to feel good at halftime. If you told them at the opening tip, you're going to tie this team at halftime, they would sign on that dotted line 10 times out of 10. If you told them at halftime they would still lose by 1 billion points, they probably would not believe you. That they wouldn't cover the spread, that they lose by 1 bajillion points at home. But the third quarter avalanche came. So it was cute. It was a fun run in the second quarter, shaking in your boots there. But in the end, the avalanche came. Because the Thunder are not only more talented than you, they're going to work harder than you. They were the more desperate team tonight. They were the more aggressive team tonight. They gave the most effort tonight. And they also have the MVP of the league in SGA, who scored 30 points on 66% shooting from the floor while taking in 6 threes, only making 1 of them. Like, he was just spectacular. The tough shot making, and again, he got the worst end of the refs letting them play in the third quarter. I think that's a fair trade-off, though. Like, for this Thunder team, I know that there were some drives there where you want to see Shai at the free throw line. You want to see J-Dub at the free throw line. Like, I get that. But I think that the cost benefit of, if you're going to let this team play physically, if you're going to let this team get up into somebody, hey, Shai and J-Dub, go finish through contact like you can, because they cannot handle the harassment from the perimeter defenders on Oklahoma City. So I think that the Thunder, personally, should be ecstatic every time that they don't see the ticky-tack fouls called on either end, because if this turns into a fight, the Thunder are going to win it there, as they did tonight. But you look at Chet, this was his most forgettable game of the season. He only had 1 bucket, 4 for 4 at the free throw line, only had 1 rebound, 3 assists, 1 steal, 5 blocks, though. Like for as bad as this game was, 5 blocks at critical times that changed possessions, of course, but also changed and dictated the flow of a game. And by flow of the game, you're talking runs. And basketball is a game of runs, stifling any momentum that Portland could gain by being that presence at the rim. And he got 5 blocks. He deterred a lot more shots. He deterred a lot more opportunities. So in the 18 minutes he played, he was still a plus 12, and that was while being a relative non-factor offensively. But he still provided a massive impact. OKC went to Isaiah Joe in the starting 5, so He's now a repeat customer in the starting lineup. Caruso was the first repeater on Wednesday. It's Joe tonight. We'll see what they do on Saturday against the Clippers. I have an article on Thunder on SI where I asked Mark about the benefits, like the benefits and the cons of having a staple five versus being flexible. And he brought up great points that you can go read over there. One of the points was, of course, keeping your opponent off guard, but it's much more than that. Ousmane Dieng. Ousmane Dieng was something special in this game. Defensively, he was all over the place. And I think Ousmane Dieng kind of embodies, if you go back and watch his minutes and just watch when he's on the floor from this game. Yes, he only got 3 rebounds, but tipping balls away from the Portland centers, boxing guys out. He allowed the Thunder to get many more rebounds than just the 3 he actually collected. And then offensively, this was the perfect offensive Ousmane Dieng game. The 1-3 that he made was a play that he does not make his rookie season, a play he does not make last year. It was an improvisation play at the buzzer. Shai loses it. It gets bobbled over to him. Ousmane Dieng just catch fires bucket. And so, again, it's not a pretty box score. 4 for 10 from the floor, 11 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, and a block. But a couple really aggressive rim finishes, 1 dunk, 1 layup technically, but it was an aggressive layup. And I think that you cannot overstate how perfectly Oklahoma City has handled his development. It's easy for people who don't watch the G League, who kind of cast it to the side into the shadows, and who don't put the work in to go kind of see for themselves what's going on, to just assume like, oh, Oos had success in the G League his rookie year and his second year. Well, then clearly they're just letting him go to the G League. They're letting him start, and he's just playing out of character. He's playing a role he'll never play for the Thunder. That's not true. I've been to every G League home game. I've talked to Cameron Woods, the Blue head coach. I've talked to Ousmane Dieng himself. I've talked to Mark Dignock extensively about Oos's development and what the plan is and what they're trying to do with Oos. And one of the key things that the Blue did, and this is all credit to Cameron Woods, yes, they started Ousmane Dieng, but if you go and actually watch how his minutes came to him, they were really intentional. And that's the key word, the intentionality of how they're developing him. They started him, but they'd only play him in these 5-minute spells where you can't spend half your minutes getting acclimated to the game. You've got to be ready to produce and make an impact in these 5-minute segments. And that was an adjustment for Oos at first. But that's what he's going to be called on doing in Oklahoma City for the NBA team. So that was a big point that they changed for Oos compared to typical G League assignments like Trey Mann, for example, who's killing it in Charlotte. But when Trey Mann went down to the Blue, it was the Trey Mann show. I mean, you played him as much as you could. You started him. The ball was in his hands the entire time. The ball was never going to be in his hands that much with the Thunder, clearly, because you had all these other guys ahead of him. But with Oos, he hasn't been dominating the ball. Does he still get on ball reps? Sure, absolutely he does. Like that, they would be doing themselves a disservice because the appeal of Oos is the elements that you can add, right? What you can stack onto his potential. But did they also use him within the flow of this offense and within the flow of the system, playing off of Jamias Ramsey, playing off of, Trey Mann when he was down there, playing off of these Blue guards, Hunter Malnado? Of course. Defensively, was he always the lone man? Was he always trying to play the 4 or the 5? And again, I know that that's a different assignment in the G League because you don't have typical big men down there because that's just not valued in this league anymore. You're playing 5 wings just like you do in Summer League. Yes, I'll grant you that. But the positioning, the technique, that was all being developed in Oklahoma City with the Blue last year. So for anyone who's going to tell you that he played for the Blue last year in an entirely foreign role than what you're seeing in the NBA, frankly, did not watch the G League, did not go and talk to Cameron Woods, did not go and talk to Mark Dignock, did not go and talk to Ousmane Dieng. They're just using a crutch. And you're seeing the fruits of that in the 19 minutes tonight. where even playing garbage time, Ousmane Dieng was a 0 point differential, 0 plus minus for his minutes because he was really good. And when Chet got in foul trouble, he was really good. You also got early Dylan Jones minutes, 7 points in this one, 4 boards, 2 assists, +1. I like that the Thunder are picking and choosing their spots because, he's got to get acclimated to the NBA speed, to the NBA, defenders, and most importantly of all, he's got to become a better defender in this new position, in this new role. He's going to have to be able to defend 4s and 5s in the NBA. And so this is a great opportunity for him because we mentioned the strength of Portland's front court, while also, even though they were tied at halftime, you never felt like you were in any danger of losing this game or that you were in any danger of losing to Portland. So this was a really good game to get Dylan Jones out there and let him stretch his legs a little bit, playing almost 12 minutes. Even Leon's got in there and got his first NBA point on a free throw. That was cool to see. He played, the final 4 minutes of the game. But overall, I thought that this was a really impressive game from the Thunder, a professional game from the Thunder, and it did not go as smooth as winning by 20 points from start to finish, but the end result was exactly what you wanted if you're Oklahoma City. That's all you can really ask for. So I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of Locked On Thunder. We'll be back to recap the game against the Clippers tomorrow. Until then, be good and be good to one another.